everyone, and welcome to the Takarazuka Review Fan Podcast, where fans from around the world get together to talk about Takarazuka. Unfortunately, we're still having a little bit of trouble scheduling everyone to get together. We have some episodes that are in post-production, and we do have one upcoming scheduled to be recorded. But in the meantime, I thought I would jump in with a little short special episode, continuing my history of Takarazuka. So this one is picking up where my last episode on the war years ended, starting with the 1950s. Now, the 1950s are a really interesting period, often referred to as the golden age of Takarazuka. These were the post-war years, when people were desperately seeking escape into other worlds and lives. The theaters were packed in Takarazuka City and in Tokyo, although do recall from the earlier War Years episode that the Tokyo Takarazuka Theater was still being used by the American occupation forces, and the review was performing in other theaters around the city instead, until their theater was returned to them in 1955. The Emperor even attended a performance in the reopened Tokyo Theater in 1958. Now, Takarazuka productions in the decade of the 1950s became lavish costume affairs, set in European ballrooms, Heian courts, and ancient Chinese kingdoms. Live horses even appeared on stage in more than one production, ridden by the dashing otokoyaku heroes. The sets were also extravagant, with vibrant colors and materials. Whereas before, Takarazuka shows usually consisted of 3 to 6 individual pieces, like choral numbers, short ballets, reviews, and musical plays. In the 1950s, they began to adapt the format that is most familiar to Takarazuka fans today, the one where we have a musical play in one act and a review show in the other act. Also, Gubijin, or You the Beautiful, their post-war mega hit, was also their first 2-act musical. It was soon followed in later years by 2-act shows which may sound familiar, as they're revived fairly often even today, like Javan Dancer and Love at Dal Lake. Takarazuka's love affair with Western influences returned, no longer forbidden as it had been during the war years. And French-influenced works and titles began to pop up all over the place. They even revived their 1920s early review shows like Mon Paris and Parisette. Some of the biggest stars of the 1950s, like Fuka Midori Natsuyo, became chanson singers after leaving the review. Ichizo Kobayashi continued to embrace his idea of spreading Japanese culture through introducing his review to the world. The ladies went on 3 Hawaiian tours in the 1950s, and their second mainland American tour to the US and Canada occurred in 1959, possibly timed to take advantage of an international fair in San Francisco, marking the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge, and a World's Fair in New York City around the same time. I also have collected several small English language programs from Grand Theater and Tokyo performances of the 1950s. Anecdotes, posts on the internet, and even little notes jotted on these programs show that American forces were really still enjoying going to see Takarazuka shows, which is probably why these programs exist. Wireless microphone technology made its first appearance with Kismet in 1955. Previously, the microphones had been set at the front of the stage, but now they also had these traveling ones that the actresses could wear. This really changed how they sang. No longer needing to project out into the audience, the otokoyaku began singing in deeper voices. Still, listening to otokoyaku songs from the 1950s, you might be surprised at how many sang soprano. Mr. Ichizo Kobayashi, who had become interested in electric lighting early on into its introduction to Japan and had even joined the Tokyo Electric Board, used his interest and influence to get more and different kinds of lighting onto the stages. The first light bulbs appeared on the not yet quite grand staircase in Bonjour Paris in 1955. Takarazuka has always been at the forefront of stage lighting and other stage tech.
心も軽く身も軽くだけどすっからかんの空財布今日は楽しい日曜日花も咲いてるパッパパ僕のハートは真っ赤っかだけど彼女は知らん顔今日は楽しい日曜日小鳥も鳴いてるピッピッピッ花も咲いてるパッパッパだけど中はペコペコ
Takarazuka actresses were becoming well known through the Takarazuka Film Production Company, which used mixed male and female casts, with the women coming from the ranks of the current Takarazuka actresses. The production company reopened in 1951 following the war, and they were quite prolific, usually filming period Japanese pieces. You can see ads and little blurbs about them in the Takarazuka graph magazines of the time. Some review members barely set foot on a stage since they were so busy filming. And many went on to become film actresses after leaving the review. Some stars of the Golden Age were Kasugano Yachio, who had joined in 1928, but even after over 20 years was their most prolific and adored otokoyaku lead, as well as, and forgive me if I start getting tongue-twisted here, Kamion Nishiki, Sumi Hanayo, Minami Yuko, Furusato Akemi, Akashi Teruko, Fujisato Miho, and Hoshizora Hikaru. Musumeyaku stars included Urashima Utame, Yachigusa Kaoru, Aratama Michio, Tsukushi Mari, Azusa Mayumi, Hama Yuko, and Mari Ruiko. The otokoyaku were slightly more fluid than today, often assuming the lead female roles in the musicals. Finally, the 1950s marks the beginning of the Shinjin Koen, or the new member performances. At first, they were sporadic and often featured junior stars rather than true younger members. But over time, they became slightly more regular. And starting in 1958, they began occurring more regularly for every Grand Theater and Tokyo Theater production. Now, the vast majority of information in this podcast comes from the publications put out by the review every 10 years to mark their anniversary, mostly from the 80th anniversary, 90th anniversary, and 100th anniversary books. Also, it comes from small blurbs and shows that they air on Sky Stage every once in a while. For more information on these sources, as well as photos and links to video clips, please visit our blog at kaithian.net/Takarazuka podcast. I'll also list some information about the songs that you could hear today in the podcast, but in case you're not going to go check it out, I'll tell you that the first song that you heard was What Is Your Name? From the performance What Is Your Name in 1954. And you heard the clip with Kasugano Yachio singing. The second song was the farewell song from the Himeyori Monument in 1953 with Akashi Teruko and Aratama Michio. And the last, more upbeat song was Today is a Happy Sunday from Swing High, Swing Low in 1951, featuring Koshiji Fuyuki, Minami Yuko, Utashima Utame, and Akashi Teruko. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear what you think of this episode, as well as any thoughts or insights you might have on this golden age of Takarazuka. Thanks, and have a great week. Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.